let's go ahead and get into wildcards and replacements. So I showed you before, if we go into folder 1, right, that you can touch file 1, file 2, file 3, file 4, right? Well, let's go back in here and let's make a folder 2. Go into folder 2. Let's do this a quicker way. So I'm going to do touch, file, folder, wow, file. Then I'm going to put a curly brace and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, .txt. And now if you look in here, I made file 1, file 2, file 3, and file 4. So what this curly brace does is it's a replacement, and I'm saying for every option in here, repeat that, right? So this actually expands out to the exact same thing. Touch file 1 txt, touch file 2 .txt, so on and so forth. But it allows me to write that in a shorter way. Now what's nice about this is it's actually bash that does this, and it's not touch. So the final command that touch receives is touch file 1.txt, touch file 2, or touch file 1 txt, file 2. So it's expanded out before it gets into the program, which is good because it means the program doesn't have to support it. Bash just does that for you automatically. And this doesn't just apply to numbers, right? So I could say touch, you know, let's do this. MN, WA, MT, UT, like that. And you can see there it expanded all that stuff out as well with text there as well. So that's called expansion. There's a lot of fanciness that you can do with this, and I'm not really going to show you much more than that. I think the last thing maybe I'll show you here is, let's say I was going to do like CA and I don't know, NY. But let's say I wanted to have one that was just file dash, and so it actually didn't have anything in it. If I just put a comma there with nothing after it, that's actually a third entry in there that's empty. So one of these files would be called file dash.txt, right? Which is this one. And that's because they have that extra comma there at the end, which can be useful sometimes. Okay. So that's expansion, or at least that's basic expansion for right now. Let's put another one in here. I'm going to put file 10.txt. Let's say I wanted to find all of the files in here that didn't have the dash in here, that were just the numbers. I could say, well, hold on, let's do ls first, file dash. And I wanted to find everything that had the file dash in it. If I put that star right there, that's called a wildcard, right? And it's only going to match things that have thing before it plus stuff after it. Right? So you can see here, it found all the file dashes but didn't find anything with the numbers in it. So that's again an expansion, and that's something that bash is doing for you. So what the ls command finally ends up seeing is file-ca, file-mn, file-mt, and so it's actually doing all that expansion for you, that matching. So it's actually looking at its own file system to figure that out for you. What happens if I do file star like that? It's going to find basically everything, right? Let's make another one here. So if I say touch file.txt, so if I put file star here, it can go in the middle as well, or maybe it can't. Oh, I'm doing touch, that's why. So if I do ls file star.txt, notice that it's still finding relatively everything. But notice here that it is finding file.txt. What if I wanted to match at least one thing, right? So something has to be there. Star will match nothing, and it will match anything that matches that, right? So if you put question mark there, notice that, So question mark actually is going to match exactly one character. So notice that it dropped all the -mn, the -mt, the 10, right? 10 didn't show up, and also file.txt didn't show up either. So things that have in there 2 characters match there. So by the same token, I could do dash question mark, and notice that it found only ones that have states after them. Frankly, I don't use the question mark a whole lot, but I use the star one all the time. So I'm going to go ahead and create another folder here, make dir folder 3. Go into folder 3, and I want to come in here and I want to make file 1 through 30. I can actually do touch file 1.30 using curly braces here and .txt. And if you look here, it actually goes out and expands 1 through 30. And so that can be useful as well. And it's not just useful for numbers. You can actually do it for letters as well. So if I do a.z like that, it actually went through and created all, file A, file B, file C, file D, so on and so forth. Let's just do it with echo, because I'm creating a lot of files right now. But if I do a.z like that, notice that it does that. But you can also go backwards, z.a, and you can even skip with .2, and it'll do every odd one, right? Or every 5. And you can do echo, 1 to 100, .10. Actually, it's probably more useful if you do it from 0, or more interesting. So there's some pretty fun stuff with that. I mean, you can go, it's actually just doing ranges of characters. So that works with capital A's, but if I do like lowercase a, except those are next to each other. So let's do A to, or capital A to the lowercase c. There you go. Anyway, I was skipping every 10, so there's a whole range of things that you want to do. For the most part, you're not going to use ranges to do crazy things like that, but I will find myself doing it with the numbers for sure. There's also some fanciness you can do with like using them next to each other. So I can do A to Z, and I can also do 1 to 5. And it'll actually give me every permutation of that. A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, B1, right? And you can start getting like pretty insane with how much you want to put in there, right? But that's also how you can do that. Again, that's not terribly useful all the time, but there's going to be like one occasion where like, hey, I need to create like so many of these files all at once. How am I going to do that? This is a useful way of doing that.
What if your file contains a star or a question mark?
I'm not sure that's a valid path. So it actually might not even be valid for Linux to do that. But normally the way you can do that is with backslash. So let's try file. Yeah, I don't, oh no, it is right there. You can see it. So the way I did it right there, this is called an escape character, which I imagine many of you, if you've been programming, have seen how to do that before. The backslash means like the next character that you're about to see, I want literally this character and not something else. Like you'll see it with spaces, right? So I can make touch a file or a file and then backsplash space. And now that you can see right there, this one right here, it actually literally put the space character into my file name. So yeah, use the backslash. And I imagine someone's asking themselves questions like, well, then how do I do backsplash or backsplash? Backslash, you just put 2 backslashes. So if I do touch file and then I'd put 2 backslashes, you can see right there I have the backslash in it right there.